All right, we're back. And this is sheet A201. Now what we're doing though, and I just realized this after taking a look at what's on the screen, is we're actually not going to be looking at the floor plan. We'll fix that in a second. We need to know what we are going to be working with. And what we're going to be drawing is our existing conditions. And that we're going to start with using a layer, G detail, line weight 3. This is the biggest, thickest, fattest line weight that's available. I need to pull up on my notes here what we're actually drawing. Okay. Come on. Here, that'll do. I'll make it work. Okay, we're going to start by using we're going to draw a line. And I'm going to hover over this end of the grid line just to get my object tracking to show up. And I'm going to type in 20 feet. You could also type in 240, because that 240 inches is 20 feet. And that begins drawing our line. And I'm just going to draw it so that it intersects over here. That's all I'm going to do. Okay. I'm now going to take that line and I'm going to offset it 9 feet up. Right? Now I'm going to copy that line, or both of those lines, 6 inches down. Okay, so this is what we should have so far. All right, I'm going to introduce you guys to a new command. It's over here on the draw menu. Now if I click the expand on the draw menu, I can either, that's not a construction line, it's array. It's this guy right here. And what array is, if you remember from your geometry classes, it's a line that starts at one point, but it extends to infinity in one direction. So if I zoom in, and I'm going to draw array, and I'm going to draw it from this end of the outside, or the outside line of the exterior wall. And I'm just going to one click places it, and the next click places it down. Now the array command assumes that you're going to just continue drawing rays from that first point that you selected. I'm not going to continue any rays from that same point, so I'm going to press return. Now I'm going to pan to the opposite exterior wall, and I went too fast. Ray, outside line of the exterior wall, click down, there we go. Okay, so this is what I've got. I'm going to use my trim command. I want all my objects to cut all my other objects, so just press return. And I'm going to clean this up. Come on. And through the middle as well. Okay, there we go. I'm now going to draw another line at this outside edge of the balcony. Come down like that. I'm going to zoom into here. I'm going to draw a line from the middle of this end here, and I'm just going to draw until it intersects, draw it horizontally until it intersects that new line that we just created. I'm going to take that line we just drew and offset 4 inches. This is the slab for the outside porch. These lines are the slab for the actual apartment itself. I'm going to use my trim command. I'm going to make those two items my cutting element. I'm going to cut there. And I can zoom in. If I hold my shift key, then I can use that to extend like so. Okay. I'm going to copy these lines, and I'm going to use this line of my slab as my base point, and I'm going to copy it to this line of the slab above. Okay, I've got a couple more things to do here. I'm going to mirror these 4 lines, and I'm going to mirror them using the midpoint of that slab line as my reference, just like that. Left click. No, I don't want to erase. There we go. Okay, part one is kind of done. The next thing that we're going to end up doing is I'm going to draw a few more rays, R-A-Y, and hopefully some of you are remembering this, that we have these additional lines that we drew for the lines of the ceiling above. These are things we're going to need to see in our section. So I'm going to draw a line at every one of these points. Now, on this plan, it may be different on yours, but it just so happens, I mean, you see there's my grid line. It just so happens that the other point for this column, or for this grid, this beam, is right in line with the inside line of the closet. So it's not that I'm drawing a line at the inside line of the closet. I'm drawing the line, actually it's a bit off from there. I can't use that. I'm going to have to mirror this to make this work. I have to do that. Okay, so there you see the difference. I'm going to zoom in on that. So the line of my beam above is sort of splitting that. It's going to be fun to build that way. I may end up changing my floor plan slightly because of it. I'm going to draw two more rays, or actually three more. One for this side of the beam, another for the other side of the beam, and then one for this beam. Okay. Now I'm going to pan down, and I'm going to offset. I set my offset. Sorry about that. I'm going to set my offset to 6 inches. And this bottom line, I'm going to offset once, and then that second one, that's not right. I just did it to once, just once. Sorry about that. Okay, I use my trim command. I want all my objects to cut all my other objects. And I'm going to pan so that I don't see the lines that make up that bottom slab. There's a reason for that. Because the using all my lines to cut all my other lines, it only works with lines that are visible on the screen. So I go all the way across and get rid of those. And those lines, because those were rays and those lines extended all the way down here. So now I'm going to pan up so that I don't see my reference. I should be able to come across here, get rid of all those. There we go. Beautiful. And now I need to make a pattern. I need to trim in between the lines that are close together. So hopefully you guys can see the pattern that I'm making here. I'm now going to zoom in. I still need to clean up these inside edges. Okay, that dynamic thing is making me crazy. I don't like seeing it following me around like this. Okay, I'm going to get rid of those. I'm going to hold my shift key down because that will allow me to extend this little line over here on the side all the way to the bottom like that. Pan over, because I'm still in my trim command. Like that. Pan over some more. I can use my crossing window to get rid of those. Here's another click there, and then hold down my shift key, trim and trim again, or extend and extend again. Okay, I've got those done. So I'm going to zoom out once it lets me. Okay, so the difference between the two slabs. This one is sitting on the ground. This one is suspended by columns and is up in the air. That's your second floor. We're doing the ground floor right now. All right. I'm going to make some more rays. R-A-Y for ray. And we're going to use the lines either side, both lines for the wall there. And do the same down at this end. Okay. So I'm going to trim, but this time I'm actually going to select the objects that I'm cutting with, and I want it to be the top line of the bottom slab and that bottom line of the beam on the slab above. And now I can just trim out the lines past that. All right. So those are our walls. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change to line weight 1. Zoom in a bit. And I'm going to draw a line that connects across the bottom here. Now remember, these are the existing conditions. And what these lines represent are items that are changing in elevation. So it's kind of hard to describe. But if I were actually sitting in this room and I turned off all if I turned off all the new construction stuff, if I were standing in that room, and if I were, like, for example, if I were standing right here, and I were looking this way, the line for this beam here, for that beam that's running in front of the wall, it sits in front of the wall a little bit. So I need a way to communicate that there's, number one, there's a beam that's happening there, but that the plane of this section is sitting in front of the plane for this wall. So that's what these lines are representing. I'm using a thin line because the distance between those two planes is not that great. Okay. I apologize. I'm doing this while I'm eating my lunch. I'm breaking all kinds of taboos, and I'm really sorry. I'm going to zoom in here over on the edge. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to click on, I use this command up here to make whatever object that I click on my current layer. So I'm going to make level 3 my current layer. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm just going to come from that endpoint out. I don't care how far I go because I'm going to clean it up in a minute. I'm done drawing that line and push return. I'm going to draw another line. Push return again. I'm going to hover over this intersection, drag my mouse to the left. I'm going to type in 9 because I want this line to be 9 inches off of that corner point, and draw it down until I intersect there. Okay. Now I'm going to use my fillet command, and you see my fillet radius is already set to 0, and I'm going to use my fillet command to clean up this intersection and put that beam there. There'll always be some sort of thickened slab. There's always going to be a reinforcing of the corner of the slab at a suspended balcony like that. Down here at the ground level, it's just going to sit on dirt. So we're in pretty good shape. There might be a thickened edge, there might not be. We're not going to worry about showing that right now. All right, the next thing that I need to show is I'm going to offset, and I'm going to start by offsetting 3 feet. I'm going to offset this bottom line up 3 feet. There we go. And I'm going to offset that line that we just created 4 feet, like so. Okay. I'm going to use my trim command again on all my objects to cut all my other objects. Push return. I'm going to get rid of those lines. I'm going to get rid of that and that and that, so that we're left with holes in our wall. One side is going to be the window, the other side is going to be the sliding doors. Now if I were, this is the way that I can describe this. If I'm going to draw an imaginary line right through the middle of the apartment, this line, those of you who use SketchUp, I'm going to move this just ever so slightly. Those of you who are familiar with SketchUp, you know you've got that section cut tool where you can cut the model in half but only show half of it. This is kind of what we're doing, only using 2D drawings. Well, I'm really close there. So I'm cutting through the window. I'm not cutting through that door. But this is the best way that I can kind of illustrate. If I were to, well, I'll project this out. give you an idea of what's going on. But hopefully you can kind of make sense of it as we go. Again, we're talking about some general theories and some general principles. I need to show the existing set of double doors over here on this side. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going, ooh, do I need to do that? Yeah, I need to do that. Okay. I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle. Zoom in. And just like we created a door jamb, I'm going to hover my mouse over that corner to get my tracking started. Type 2. And then the opposite end of the corner is going to be, or the opposite end of the rectangle, I'm going to select right there. I can actually delete that additional line in there because I know I don't need it. And I got to zoom back, come here, zoom in, and I need 3 more rays. I need one from the middle of the door, the outside edge of the door. That was the inside. This is the outside. There we go. And I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm actually cutting through this door. And now I'm going to draw another rectangle, even though I'm not going to cut through this one. This one is visible in the distance beyond. I still need to show it. Okay, so I've created 2 rectangles, and they just overlap these lines. AutoCAD is filled with all kinds. It's filled with times where you're going to draw things that help you draw something else, and then you delete those first things that you drew. So I'm going to highlight that line, click on it, and I'm going to set it to layer 2. And now I'm going to draw 2 more lines from there down to this end, and another one. I didn't get it lined up right. There we go. Draw a line down until it intersects like that. Okay. Highlight both of these lines, change it to line weight 1. There we go. So if we're looking at this section cut, I'm going to highlight this this yellow line, right click, say draw order, and send it to back. Just so I want that green line to show up on top. And I'm going to turn on my line weights that will help us a little bit. I might be turning those line weights on and off. So the items in green are the things that we're cutting through. The items in yellow are the borders of things that are closer to us than they are far away. And then the lines in red are basically the items that are far away. And they can also be the things that are close to us inside that border. They start making a little more sense when you see other things drawn together. I know I'm not being very clear, and I apologize. This is actually, for me, this is just a very difficult concept to communicate. So I'm back on my line weight 3. I'm going to create my window. I'm actually going to delete these 2 lines here because I don't need them, because I'm about to create rectangles that will fill up this space. So hover over that point, drag down, press 2 and enter, and then close my rectangle. Do the same on the other end, drag up 2, down to there, press return, and I need 3 lines, 1 on the end, 1 in the middle, and 1 on the opposite end. And then these lines here on the outside, we change from line weight 3 to line weight 1. Okay, we're almost done with our existing conditions. Almost. I'm going to go down, scroll down to, oh, I'm in my general. I bet I've got that one on. No, did I not save it? I didn't save it. Oh my goodness. Bad. Okay, so I'm going to highlight that. Click New. S, columns, grid, E. There we go. Except that is just going to be center 2. There we go. That's my current layer. And I'm just going to draw some lines for each of these grid lines down, draw one, just to save a few mouse clicks. To copy these across. There we go. So now I've got grid lines that are showing up on the right spot and they're on the right layer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to offset, set that distance to 4 feet, the top of the top slab and the bottom of the bottom slab. Pan a little bit so I can see what's going on. Okay, I'm going to TR for trim. I want all my objects to affect all my other objects, so I press return again. I'm going to chop all those off. I'm going to hold my shift key down, and because these lines do not intersect that line that I offset to 4 feet, I'm going to hold down shift while I click on them to extend them out. Okay. And this is just for aesthetic purposes. There's nothing practical or usable about it, so to speak. I'm going to highlight these lines that I just created. I just want these column lines to run only 4 feet past the extents of what we're dealing with. It's purely aesthetic. There's nothing really intense about why I chose 4 feet. It's just arbitrary. Now, the one thing that we've got left to do, these are existing conditions. So just like we did with our floor plan, we set up a color override by the viewport. And just like we did in our ceiling plan where we set up a color override for the XREF, excuse me, I'm going to highlight all these objects. Make my layer dialog go away. I'm going to highlight all these objects, and I'm going to come to Properties, and I'm going to click on this color swatch here, and I'm going to override the color of these objects by their, I'm going to set up an object color override. Click on True Color, 168, 168, 168, press return. There we go. Everything is gray. This is the information that we actually want to be looking at in the viewport. So I'm going to click back into my viewport. I don't remember if it's locked or not. Let's highlight it. Yes, it's locked. But select my grip, pull my grip down. I can extend my viewport to have it show what I want it to show. Now I can select this other grip, pull that down to there. There we go. And now I can move my viewport up to here so that we have, these are all of our existing conditions. There we go. In the next video, I'm going to show you some of the basic principles of what's behind actually laying out elevation information in a section/elevation. So next video up is we're going to be extending and projecting out our lines for this section, all of our new construction. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.